Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming at you with another video. So I just saw a video online from Lou versus Wall Street. I usually don't mention him. I speak of him, but I don't mention his name. But I think this is important because of what he's telling everybody. Essentially, he's come up with this idea. He believes him and his conglomerate of people that he's been associating with have come up with this idea that all of the real shares in AMC, GME, and other stocks that are being shorted are actually in the possession of the short sellers, and that our fight is useless because they can control the stock in such a way that makes it so that this never squeezes. That's what he's telling everyone. Um, Now, I'm not selling my shares off of that idea, um, nor am I going to listen to what he had to say and completely write off the idea of it being possible, because I'm a logical individual and I'll listen to anything, really. Just like I listened to this and actually followed it. So clearly I'm open minded. But I think the thing that I would tell him in retort is thank you for giving me that idea. But if the shares are in fact in their possession, then there really is no harm in me holding these and seeing what happens. The fact that this can take forever um, is something that I signed up for. And the fact of the matter is, I've already seen my money shoot up to a respectable amount just by doing this. So, whatever it is that they can do, they weren't able to do it that day. I think the idea that we were buying synthetic shares back in January, I think that hypothesis is something that is possible. I also think it's possible we have real shares. I've been assuming that I have real shares that I purchased back in January, but I do think it makes a whole lot of sense if they were using synthetic shares back then. I think that I would be naive as to just automatically assume that each and every share that I bought in 2021 before March is real, because I think these tactics have been used for probably forever. And so his hypothesis about them having our real shares may not necessarily be something I'm ready to buy, but the fact that they could have been using this tactic for longer than just as long as we've been in this play, yeah, I don't want to poo-poo that. I definitely do not. So at the end of the day, as I said, I've already seen this thing clear 100% in a day twice. So I already know that I'm in a play that can make me enough money to make me feel good about what I'm doing. If it doesn't squeeze, I would be highly disappointed. But this is a good American company, and we've saved it. And we've shined a light on these tactics that otherwise haven't been paid attention to. So we've already succeeded in terms of invoking the change that we're looking for and ultimately setting pace for a reform in the market. Now, how long it takes for that change? Well, I'm a black person, so I know change doesn't come fast. You got to do it in increments. And as it pertains to the embezzlement of money and the manipulation of stock market um, methods, I think it gets to a point where you're gonna have to do a lot to untangle all that's webbed together there before you can really just um, see the change that you're working toward. But I think the fact that we've started the conversation uh, and created something, uh, a method of investing that could make people wealthy for generations to come. I think we're pioneers in that way. I think we're pioneers in a multitude of ways. And just because they are doing nefarious things does not mean that they are scaring us away from the play. I think the fact that they were doing these nefarious things brought us here in the first place. That they can rig the game a little more so than we thought they could rig it is not a deterrent. because we're shining a light on them, because things like Rico is being involved in this situation. That wouldn't have been brought about if we weren't successful in our method here, regardless if we're futile in making the money that we're looking for. We're not in destroying the structure from which those who've rigged the game are working, which is why you're doing an about face on us like this. They've obviously gotten to you. Or you're one of them. I don't know. I've had a bunch of theories about Lou, but at the end of the day, we know he's compromised. You can tell by the tone. Those who've been watching him as long as I have, you can almost tell. There's something I'm going to give you guys that I noticed. There was always a way that I could tell my mom was lying to me by the way that she spoke. And she couldn't lie to me, like literally she couldn't do it because I was her son. She had a certain soft spot for me, and it just didn't go over well. So I could always tell. It was almost like a tongue-in-cheek type of way she spoke to me. It was different from when she was serious and matter-of-fact about what she wanted. And I'm not talking about real lies. I'm talking about white lies, like Santa Claus and stuff like that. She was no good at really lying. I could always tell, Lou has that same type of way he speaks to the camera, and it's almost like those who watched him long enough should understand that. And I feel like I'm speaking to somebody who's speaking to me in such a way where I should understand that he ain't serious. That's how Lou is talking to all of us. Those who watched his earlier videos, when he was giving up all kinds of real information and being all intent and all that, he didn't sound like he sounds tonight. Tonight sound like a guy who's completely compromised, who has that tone that my mom had when she was telling white lies to me and I should ignore her because she ain't really speaking nothing real. She's just spitting whatever she needs to say in that moment that ain't really, for whatever reason. Understand what I'm trying to say to you. He ain't sound like he's really himself. And so I just consider the fact that there's so much money involved that this is a situation where I was saying in my previous video earlier this morning, a lot of different things are infected by the overall collapsing of the market. He's not about that. He's told us many times early on that he's anti that. He's just trying to make money for his community, which is really right there showing his true colors to begin with. Because what are we? We are activists, basically. And whoever's joining what it is that we're doing is crossing the picket line if they're not about what we're doing. Just by the sheer nature of what it is that's supposed to make this squeeze take place, which is holding and being steadfast and continuing to buy. So the notion that you're coming here to just trade is in and of itself a problem if the theory is correct. So why in the world will we go with that to begin with? I just feel like at the end of the day, people look to individuals like Lou for guidance on how to manage their emotions and how to tread through the waters of what's in front of them as it pertains to this particular play. I was never one that was all on board with Lou, but I felt like he had a lot of information that could really help us understand certain things that maybe we wouldn't otherwise get from other YouTubers because he was close to it, and you can clearly see that. But I always understood that he only wanted us to hold, but to a point. You could hold, but to a point, for a multitude of different reasons, but it always came back to hold, but only to a point. Certainly not to as far as you want to. And who doesn't want us to hold that long? The people who are paying the bill. Anybody else who's warning you about not holding, or rather holding too long and losing your money, no one that I am aware of would be that intent on regurgitating that same point. It's not like you're telling me to take my vitamins or something bad with my health will take place. You're reminding me that the risk I'm in is a risk that can otherwise cost me money. Well, newsflash, I'm signing up for that, aren't I? Aren't we apes? Isn't that who you're speaking to, the apes? So why do you have to continue to remind us of how treacherous the waters are? Or how unstable the trading methods could be once things get to a certain point where everything's collapsing. We know things are going to collapse. That's what we're forcing. And so I listened to him and I'm just like, all right, at the end of the day, as I always tell everybody who listens to me, They can pay you out over time. And I understand a lot of people don't have a lot of time, but you don't sign up for this play if you're trying to get rich for your own self only. This is an unselfish play that could not possibly work out. So you have to think long term. If you're logical and realistic, you have to assume that this is something that'll be paid out to your trust, not necessarily your person. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you're not signing up with that mentality, you're not looking at this thing properly. Literally, you're not, because it doesn't have a definite date, and it doesn't, to be honest with you, have a definite price. You know, have a price target. You're hopeful for the absolute moon. And I'm telling you, if it runs up to where we think it can go, it's not like you're going to look at it and say, okay, I'm good. Some people will, but as it continues to rise, for whatever plethora of reasons, they will continue to buy. So it's like, if allowed to, obviously. So the sheer notion of what this type of event could look like, with the halts and the various different phases it could have, to assume that anyone could navigate us through that just because they were around Wall Street so closely in the past when things weren't so digital, it's naive. No one knows what's coming. We don't know. And I don't know that anyone can prepare for it. And I don't think it can be managed, even if people who have plans in place to manage such an event are actually in a position to do so. At the end of the day, the hypothesis that we've initially had from the beginning says that they're going to have to cover the shares that they've purchased, regardless if they're synthetic, real, when, however, when it gets to a point where when those margin calls come into play, and they are coming into play as we speak for a lot of different hedge funds, there is no not paying that. There's someone on the other end waiting for their money, and the bottom line is they're due. They've already played in their investment, and that becomes a fight between those two. So that has nothing to do with the apes. That's a fight beyond you. So it's simple as this. If you don't see your price target, you hold something that needs to be purchased. That's the reality of it. Now, whether or not the shares are fake, real, whether or not they have our real shares and keep the price target at 17 and never allow the price to go up to 15, all that stuff that's price, man. That's the swiggly line stuff. That has literally nothing to do with the functionality of what it is that we're doing, and we know it. We're sitting here waiting for people to make phone calls. Like literally, hey, pay my money. No? Okay. Well, that means your debt runs up. And that means the price target that you're hoping to see may actually be reached off the sheer notion that this continues to be the case. See, that information, that truth, cannot be wavered with. That's not something you can scare me away from. I hold something that must be purchased. This is not something I have to do anything about. Do you see what I'm saying? And because I know that, I'm not going to sit here and allow anyone to get my hopes up, scare me into to selling, or scare me into believing that I won't be able to execute a sell. They should be afraid I won't execute the sell, not the other way around. I don't need to sell. It's psychological for me. The price target, what I can live off of, and the type of money I can make, all these different things, that's my stuff. That's me. That all of that can die with me. The reality is you need what it is that I have. Whether they're fake or real, you must purchase them. And because I know that, I'm going to set the price that makes sense for me, and we'll move from there. If you pay it, you get the shares. You don't pay it, I hold the shares and live with the consequences of that. And whatever price you say that they are, or whatever price it shows on the price tag, it doesn't matter because I have them. They're worth millions to me. I don't know what they're worth to you. I don't care. I have it. I'm happy with what I have. You see what I'm saying? It becomes, that's why the motto is, I like the stock. That's exactly what that means. That's exactly what that means. So no, I'm not going to allow anyone to, I'm going to use my voice to offset that tongue-in-cheek tone that he's providing you from those who he's trying to con into believing that he can push their agenda onto us. Okay? I know I'm probably blowing up his whole spot, but that's what that feel like to me. He conning some other folks into thinking that they can push their agenda onto us when he and us have an understanding that this is already over, so now he can just do whatever he wants to do with his money. He can move himself in different directions, and that's what he's doing. He's conning somebody. But the problem is, it's not It's not us he's trying to con. It's them. Anyway, he needs to tread lightly, in my opinion. As I watch what Lou's doing, I just say, bro, tread lightly. Okay, you spreading yourself too thin. I know you looking at certain things, you're doing certain things, and all that. But man, just this is new territory, man. Because now you got a lot of eyes on you. You know what I mean? Whatever was going on beforehand, you wasn't famous. Now you are. Simple as that. So chill, chill on all this, because there are a lot of people out there who are actually dumb enough to sell off of what you're saying. As for myself, come on, man. Anybody that followed the original Roaring Kitty thesis is not moved by anything. I'm not moved at all. I think at the end of the day, managing my own personal life, just like I'm saying any and everybody else, during the psychological rigors of this freaking play, you know, because that's what this really is. If you really want to know the truth, this play is just getting a Lou just like it's gotten everybody else. Then you start making different decisions based on the fact that this hasn't happened yet. I'm telling you, man, it's real. When you talk about psychological, the warfare that we're all under as apes, it's real. They're pressing real buttons here. And if you're not sharp enough to understand that at the end of the day, you hit the sell button, you understand what I'm saying? It's you that chooses this fate that you have as it pertains to this play. Not them. Not no one else, not the psychological play, none of that. Because as long as at the end of this you don't hit sell, they haven't won. You can feel whatever you need to feel, you can cry, you can throw things around the room, you can do whatever you gotta do, but as long as you don't hit sell, they still need to try the next move to get that done. You have what they want. You're at their mercy. And just like Satan, they're gonna use every tactic in the book to try to get you to do what it is they want you to do. Manipulate, lie, cheat, deceit, bribe, everything. It's too much money on the line for them not to try everything. So I don't expect for this to end right away, because if they have any power in their bodies, or in their infrastructure rather, they need to continue fighting us. Because if they don't, they go belly up as businesses, and that means so much more. So yeah, no, they're not going to give up early. Even if it does look like things are out of control, apes need to understand that this is just not about you. It's just not about you. It's about all of us. Everyone who will put any money into the stock market or crypto market. All of us. If you want to see an opportunity where your kids and grandkids can actually make real earnings off of what it is they invest in, their hard work, then you need to see this through. Because these people are doing a lot of horrible stuff, and it ain't just to AMC, it ain't just to GME, it's to thousands of stocks. And they have siphoned trillions of dollars out of regular people. You need to know that and fear what that means more so than what the hell happens here when things don't work out for you. Because trust you me, they're gonna make money on the back end if you don't see this playthrough. And I'm talking to real apes. I'm not talking to people who are trying to make a couple bucks. I'm talking to real apes. If we don't vanquish this enemy, they're gonna come back 10 times stronger. It's not gonna just end at this tactic. They're gonna find a lot more, and they're gonna be much more vicious because of how they've been attacked. Know that. We're dealing with real life human versions of Satan here, and the proof is in the tactics, in the deceit, in the FUD, in the doubt. They will sway your faith just like Satan, man. This is, if you really look at the parallels, you understand you're dealing with that type of energy. So you also understand that it's destined to fall. So just stay firm, everybody. We are under attack, but at the same time, we are the aggressor. AMC apes, GME apes, one and the same, baby. And I'm not going nowhere. In fact, if I can put myself in a position to have more, I would have more. And I suggest that everybody just do what's best for them financially. Don't follow no one man, no one woman in regards to this play. Hold what you can afford to hold. And don't let nobody psych you into putting yourself in bad situations to keep shares. This play is going up. They can't stop that from happening. Real apes are here. and everybody else just needs to stand by and be a part of this, in my opinion. But this ain't financial advice, because people do get sued for stuff like that. But I'm telling you, I believe in this with my whole soul, and I'm in. BDF 44. Peace.